Welcome to the Home Buyer Seminar. I'm Bill Gross, along with my good friends and colleague,
Patricia Castillo.
and
Shannon Lender.
Shan's got a new microphone. Oh,
Yep.
look at that!
Trying.
Look
Does
at-
it sound better? Does it sound improved?
It sounds great. What have you spent for it? It's a great investment. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Look, I just noticed that.
I'm gonna
And
try
we're
to
here
use with my background too. We're gonna spice things up.
whether you're buying your first house or your next house. We're here to help you and talk about the market. What's happening in the market, Patricia? You got your finger on the pulse. What is going on?
So some of the homes that I've seen that have, I think right now the market is starting to settle. We're seeing that homes are taking a little bit longer to sell, which is still okay. I mean, properties are still getting sold, but buyers have a advantage right now for properties that have been sitting on the market a little bit longer than, your normal 20 days or 15 days. So usually after about 30 days on the market, you'll probably see some form of price reduction. Maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 20. It just depends on what the listing agent and the seller decide to do. But these properties are really great opportunities for buyers because instead of asking for, if you see a price reduction, instead of asking for an additional reduction off the top, which is the price, you can ask for a credit, which in this market, I think you're most likely to get it. And you can use that to pay for your title and escrow fees, your prepaid costs with the lender. All those fees start to add up really quickly. So once you have the credit and you're in escrow, and let's say your offer gets accepted, you asked for maybe $15,000 in a credit, and the seller granted that in the offer. So that was accepted. So now you're in escrow. The $15,000 is something that you can play with. You can use that towards your rate buy down. You can use that to pay for your closing costs. That's something that you'll talk to with the lender and your realtor to see where it makes sense for you to apply that money. But the good thing is that in this market, there's a lot of negotiation happening, and sellers are aware, they're, well, not all of them, but some of them are still in the COVID days thinking they're going to get like 200,000 over asking. But, in this market, you're going to see that homes are taking a little bit longer to sell. They might even be on the market for 2 to 3 months before they get an offer in certain areas. So this is a time to really, pay attention to see what's sitting on the market. Talk to a knowledgeable real estate agent that can show you which homes are staying on the market longer. This is where you're going to be able to capture that opportunity to get into a property this year. And right now we're in the, what's usually like the hot summer, spring shopping season, selling season, right? So now that we're in, starting summertime, this is a really good time to pay attention to see what was listed in the spring that hasn't sold yet. You can get into a property with paying minimal out of pocket for your closing costs.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't see too, I guess, when you buy a property, right, that they don't see the price reduction because it's in the credits a lot of the times, right? Like you don't see that. So yeah, people probably, that's a good thing. They're not aware about, hey, the prices, you don't probably not be dropping, but you don't know on the back end, there's probably credits that are being given out. So that's good to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll see that in the MLS.
Exactly.
Oh, and I think what you're saying also is try to expand your choices by properties that might be out of your price range, close enough that if you offer them a low price, you might be able to. And it's always a challenging situation. I think for agents, sometimes they'll see a property in the market a long time, and it could be because the seller has a problem and can't sell it. Could be that they've lowered the price already, so you want to make sure you check how long it's been at that price. And I think that's kind of a rookie error a lot of real estate agents make. We've been in the market for 6 months. Well, we just lowered it to that price, and I got 10 million phone calls. Versus, you've been at that price for quite a while. I'm just curious, would your seller, appreciate getting an offer at this point, and then sell them on how you can perform. And the other thing I would say is oftentimes properties have been marketed a long time are because a buyer backed out at some point. So what happens is, I think sometimes a buyer, there are a lot of dishonest systems. One system is make a ridiculously high offer to tap the property, and then now the seller's desperate and negotiate with them down. And often those deals fall apart. And the problem is the seller fell in love with that offer price and got it in their head, and it's hard to walk them off it. And I don't think sometimes buyer's agents understand that it's hard to get the seller. Well, the first guy gave us 800,000. Well, he really didn't. He really gave you 600,000 at the end. He told you 800,000. It's kind of like he loved you and left you situation. And it's hard. There's a lot of psychology in that. And so, but sometimes just being at the right place at the right time gives you a chance to take advantage of it. So, and the last thing I would add also is look at properties that aren't in the condition you want, that you can put in the condition that you need to. I think, I'm not a handy guy. I call my son-in-law to hang a picture frame. But I know I can hire people to do work. And so the properties we bought always have been severe fixers that I look at and can assess what can I hire somebody to do. And I remember, famously, I think I told the story before that we bought a dream house in Diamond Bar. It was our second home. We traded from our first home to a second home. I grew up in a cul-de-sac. My backyard was an empty canyon. I found the same thing in Diamond Bar, which wasn't that common. And it had a nice oversized spa. It wasn't a pool, but it was a big spa. I'm a swimmer. I like the water. Beautiful view. Everything I wanted, but inside, every surface was a mess. Every piece of flooring was dirty, filthy, had to be replaced. Every wall was filthy. Every cabinet was a mess. But I knew that you can replace the carpet, you can repaint, you can resurface cabinets or buy new ones. And so I went through and I made a budget. I brought my wife in to see the property, and she started crying. I'm thinking, honey, this is going to be a dream home. I mean, we'll put tile in and we'll do this. We'll make it nice. And I saw the after photo, and she just kept looking at it was filthy. And I talked her into it, and so I worked it out. But my point is to say, that's how we made a really great buy. Was my wife was willing to see what the after photo could be, and then we worked towards ourselves.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually recently had this conversation with a buyer that is going FHA. There was a property that they liked, and they thought it was a fixer, but they showed me pictures. I actually came out to it, and I told them, you know what? It's just outdated. It's not like.
Shannon is freezing.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So just going back to it, people that are going FHA or conventional, sometimes, the property could be outdated, but as long as the appraiser sees that it's habitable, things are working, you can still have carpet. You can still have an outdated kitchen, as long as the paint isn't chipped, and even those things are minor things because you're putting down 3.5 to 5%. So,
Right.
Just because you're going FHA or conventional doesn't mean you can't buy a house, like you said, that needs a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Appraisers just care about safety and habitability. That's the main thing, safety and habitability. If it passes those things, more likely than not, you can buy it.
Excellent. So what else is going on? Patricia, what do you want to talk about? I know you had something particular about, or is that it? Did I cover it?
I just wanted to share my screen really quick because I wanted to give you guys a demonstration. Can you see this now?
Yeah, look at you.
So there's 25 listings here. Look at the red arrows. There's half of these listings that were reduced. The green arrows are homes that sold above asking. And out of this list of 25 listings, now these are all sold already from January to this month. These are all recent listings. There are only two, like this one up here, that was a fixer. It was a notice of default. It was a pre-foreclosure. So this property was listed at $649,900, and that's what it sold for. The other listing here was listed at $915,000. It also sold at $915,000. So there were no price adjustments here. But this is how the market is varying right now. This specific, all these properties that I'm showing you are in Alhambra. Okay, so LA County, Alhambra, nice neighborhood. But half of these listings are either reduced or overpriced. I mean, not overpriced, they're sold over asking. So this just goes to show you how much negotiation power there is right now in negotiating a lower price or a credit on, I mean, half of the listings. That's a pretty substantial number there. So that's what I
Wow.
wanted to show you guys. This is, I mean, I used to live near Alhambra. You know, there's a Costco there, a Target. They have a lot of eateries there. It's on Main Street. There's, you know, it's a diverse community. There's a lot of parks there, places to walk and, you know, go have coffee, little shops. So it's a nice little community to live in. A lot of people like Alhambra.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Clean, very clean neighborhood. You have supermarkets there, and so it's just, you know, it's a nice place to live. But this is something that is going on right now in this market. So those are actual sold properties from January to May.
Yeah, Alhambra's always been a nice city. When I was in high school, I was on the debate team. I don't want to brag and say I took third in the state of California, but I took third in the state of California.
But you did.
And one of our competitors was these two guys from Alhambra, and we beat them like dogs. And then they ended up, I went to school at USC in the debate team, and they both were there and became very, very good friends. So, so it was fun to spot my heart for Alhambra. But yeah, and so what's the moral of the story there with those numbers is there's opportunity. You got to dig through the data. No.
Yes, opportunity to negotiate. That was something that I mentioned in the beginning, was the opportunities that buyers have right now is to negotiate on a credit or a price reduction. But the credit could probably be better as far as using it for a rate buy down.
You know, I'm a capitalist, and so I start from always, you know, there's a fair market price unless there's some interference. And so in this case, you know, buyers can ask what they want, and sellers can ask what they want, and buyers can offer what they want, but the price is what willing buyers and sellers agree to. Right. And so, you know, the art of us as agents is helping our buyer or seller understand the gap between what they want and what the market is demanding. And then as an agent, our job is to sell the other party on that. And so having the data, that's why having a realtor who knows the market and the data, and I also think knows both sides of the equation, like Patricia and I do as listing agents. You know, we understand the seat that the listing agent's in to explain to them, hey, I appreciate your seller wants $800,000, but, you know, here's the comps, here's the arrows, here's the data. And, you know, this is why we think it's a fair price. And if it's a fair price, then we can do some business. If it's not a fair price, then, you know, you're not going to get in the escrow in this market, I don't think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And on the buy side, I think what I'm seeing is a lot of people who recently bought cars. There's been at least 4 people that I've gotten that have a car payment. And it's recently too, like the last.
God, I hate hearing this. I hate when you say cars, it's just my stomach turns. It's just, why?
Are not small. These are not small payments. So
none are. There's no cheap car payment anymore.
Someone's been selling a bunch of cars in the last 3 to 4 months, and it shows. So kudos to that person, but it is affecting a lot of people when it comes to buying. So just buy the house before you buy the car, please.
I couldn't believe when my wife had 2 paid off older cars. I don't drive much anymore because we live in a very walkable neighborhood, and my life is kind of geographically focused. And when we want to go somewhere special, we take an Uber. And I thought, well, why don't we sell both those used cars and buy one nice new car? It'd be kind of fun to have a new car, new technology, you know, why not? And I looked at the price, and like, wow, that car is expensive. And then I priced insurance and the registration. Wow, that's expensive. And so home buyers, if you're buying a car payment, you're pretty much not buying a house unless you've got room to spare and you're qualifying. I mean, wow, those payments are a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you have good income and your only debt is a car, maybe, and that's a big, right?
Yeah.
Because car payments are what, anywhere between $5 to maybe $800.
And
right?
I've seen as high as 1,000. So,
I know. How do they? And I remember I had a friend who was facing bankruptcy, and I was consulting with him and helping him and helping him negotiate and all. And then he told me about this car payment. It was like a $950 car payment. And it says a truck. So I imagine like a Ford 350 commercial grade, huge truck, all kinds of features on it. No, it was just like a SUV on a truck frame. It wasn't like that's a $900 payment. Like these car payments, and so I just think you have to get clear on what your goals in life are. I mean, personally, I'm in real estate. Occasionally, I make a big deal. I have one coming up, and maybe we'll buy a new car, but I pay cash for it because I just really don't like the idea of having monthly payments.
Right.
It keeps me out of the business that I want to do. But for other people, if you're on the come up, and you're trying to buy your first house, do it on a car. Find some way, man. Get a bike, get a motorcycle, get an e-bike, walk. I started walking a lot. I've lost 50 pounds in the last 6 months, so it's been great.
Oh, that's awesome, Bill.
Yeah, so I just think that, but I see, and I think I tell this story all the time. I live a block and a half from a major boulevard, Pico Boulevard, where there are a lot of, people work at dry cleaners and different stores on the boulevard. And I see the employees who park their cars on our street from time to time. All of the employees at the dry cleaners drive nicer cars than mine, all of them. Why? If you're working minimum wage for some dry cleaner, why are you buying a car like that? I just don't really get that. So, but I guess it's priorities. I'm the lone voice. You're going to watch TV or a ball game with 50 commercials for a $1,000 car payment. I'm not that guy. I think your life can be much better if you save your money and buy a house, get an investment property, get some residual income coming in. Hey, let's talk about interest rates real quick, because another thing, I think the psychology of the market is so negative. If you watch the news...
The national convention, probably pull it up on the screen.
I'm going to right now. If you listen to the news, you would think the market's so volatile. Every day, Donald Trump eats a hot dog and the market's up 500 points. He eats strawberries, the next day it's down 500 points. It's like, it's so exaggerated, but take a look at the interest rates, which is a really good indicator of the market. I'm going to blow it up on my browser just to make it, easier to see. This is when he was inaugurated, January 20th.
Yeah, they've been pretty steady.
It's the same. In fact, if you go back 5 years, this is one of the most stable periods of time in the last year or so of interest rates of the last 5 years. And if you go back maximum, look how it's gone up, down. Look how stable this last couple of years has been. So really, I think that a lot of people, if you, I don't know who watches the news. My wife does. She'll say, "Did you see the news?" I say, "No, I don't watch the news. I don't want to watch the news. There's no news on the news. It's just mental depression." If you watch the news about the economy, it'll tell you that you don't have money in the bank and you don't have the desire to have the American dream. I have money in the bank and I have the desire. I don't care what the news says. I look at the numbers, and if I can afford that, and then I can afford it and I can make money on it. And I just would encourage everybody to take a chance. Like, believe in yourself, believe in the American system. The news is going to talk you out of it, but I'm telling you, the interest rate market has been so flat. I mean, it's almost like Shannon should be bored there with the interest rates. Find something else to do besides watch the market these days. How about, I don't know, find some new customers, find some new realtors. But in the old days, when I was in mortgage agent, I had to watch the market every day because it would go up a half point, down a half point. You had to lock in deals, unlock deals, extend deals. And I'm sure you do some of that, but it's not that volatile at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's been pretty steady. That's why there's no new. I haven't been bringing it up because there's nothing sensational about the rates right now.
But that's the real news. The real news is, and that's the thing I say all the time, the real news is there's no news. The real news is just do your job, make money, pay payments, put money in the bank, buy a house, repeat. That's the real news. Everything's online for that. And I think the news also about the real estate market, they love talking about the few cities where the prices are going down. Look, I have a new listing. It's heartbreaking to watch this listing that I have with Patricia. It's in downtown LA. If you watch scenes of the riots where there's cars burning, you can see my listing in the background. Like, I showed it to my wife, said, "There's my new listing for $1 million." And fortunately, in my case, my seller is not desperate, and it's not one of those heartbreaking cases where somebody's really, their life isn't going to be changed that much. We all want to get paid, and we all want to, do a good job. But other than downtown LA, the rest of the market's not affected by this. I live in West LA. You wouldn't know there's riots where I live. Or whatever you want to, I'm sorry, I don't use the right term. Whatever is going on, you wouldn't know about it. I live in West LA. There's nothing going on here, but people are buying houses and selling houses. There's nothing on the market, and people are going to open houses here.
Yeah, my dad actually lives in Idaho, and he calls me and he's like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm seeing all these riots and things happening. Be careful." I'm like,
Protesting.
I'm sorry, protests. Wrong word, protests. Please forgive me, protests.
Yeah. So
No, in that area, it's bad. I mean, and
you just look
we
at the news,
used,
you think that California is just so, I don't know, third world.
well, I will, it is, in the sense, it's heartbreaking in that the area where this is going on is an area that has really regenerated in the last 10 years. And I have a client with a company. We do a weekly meeting. We used to meet at our office, and now, and Patricia, you were at that office at Washington Boulevard, and we sold. We leased that building, and now we're meeting at a coffee place, a cute little coffee place right in that arts district. I mean, and there's like 10 cute coffee places there, and restaurants and bars and stuff. We had a business meeting every week down there, and it was really, really nice. That area is the area that's affected, unfortunately. It's just heartbreaking to see that what goes on. But the rest, outside of this, and somebody was showing on a map, like the red dot where the protests are, and then the rest of LA, I wouldn't know anything's going on at all. So, and it's certainly not affecting the real estate market in LA out of that area. I mean, it's not changing anything. Now, I do know there are other cities and there's other activity elsewhere too, but here in Los Angeles, in the city of Los Angeles, outside those areas, it's not affecting anything at all. And that's just, again, the news wants to tell you how bad it is. The news would have you think the whole city is burning, and it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the real news. I love that. The real news is there is no news, which is good.
Right, so get to work. There's nothing to distract you, so get to work. I'm in real estate. There's always somebody to call to help. There's always something to do that I should be doing. Or if not, end work and go play with my grandkids. Those are like my two choices in life. I don't need to watch the news, what I call news porn. There are people like addicted to it. And I have friends who will, did you see the news today? And it's like, yeah, I saw it. Okay, no big deal. Like, doesn't really affect me. I think there's a difference between knowing what's happening in the world and letting it control you. I mean, there's one of my favorite teachers, David Allen. He wrote the book, Getting Things Done. And he uses a martial arts term called a mind like water. And in martial arts, and karate in particular, you want your mind to be like a lake in an ocean, in a mountain, where the lake, absent any interaction, is just flat and glassy. And if you throw a pebble in, it reacts to a pebble appropriately with little ripples, and then eventually goes back to normal. If you throw a boulder in, it has bigger ripples, appropriate for a boulder, and goes back to normal. And you want your mind to be like that. You want to act appropriately, and then return to normal when you're ready to. And I think for so much about real estate is mindset, both being an agent, a practitioner, and I think being a buyer, your mindset is really important. And I just see in our news, and I do a podcast on this all the time, for whatever reason, the news is determined to talk people out of being successful, out of accumulating wealth, into renting, into buying debt. And I just, it's wrong. I'm going to say that. Normally, I'm try to be careful about judging things, but all that's wrong. You can accomplish anything in America if you work hard, put money away, and pay the price. And that's why I'm in real estate. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in this business. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
No, that was great.
I feel like I'm a Baptist preacher today. Give me a soapbox. I believe. I feel the power of the Lord. Okay. Counterpoint. Patricia, counterpoint.
So,
Tell me where I'm wrong.
no, I mean, I think that if I don't watch the news regularly either,
Good.
I get.
That's why you're so successful, Patricia. There you go.
Well, I get what I need and then I check out, right? So there's things to stay informed about the housing market because that's our business. Just like if we were in the business of construction, we would be updating ourselves on the cost of lumber, the price for labor, and things like that. So, I do think that we need to be informed, though, to help our clients to the highest level.
Yeah. Yeah, and it be informed doesn't mean you have to react to it. I think that's where I get, friends who want to react. Today's Juneteenth, for example. So whichever side of the aisle I'm politically, you can make a whole big case to make a big production of it. Truth is, it's a federal holiday. Banks are closed. Courts are closed. Almost every attorney took the day off for those reasons. As a business person, that's important to know. it's not important to really go into a whole political discussion as to whether it's good or bad. It is a federal holiday. The LA County courts are closed. The banks are closed. You better plan around your closings.
The recorders are closed. So if you had a closing, right, that was supposed to be closing recording in the county today.
Right.
They're closed.
You have to like it. That's just the fact, and plan around it, and know that that's a date, and know it's in your calendar, and plan appropriately. And I think that's the key thing to know. So I think, again, there's appropriate amount of news to, like Patricia said, exactly. You need to know what you need to know. You don't need to react to it. You need to make an appropriate reaction and then get back to work and do what you're supposed to do. And for buyers as well, I just think know what's true about. Look, when I buy in downtown LA right now, I might make offers on properties and find a seller who's desperate, and maybe the seller's overreacting and agrees to too low a price. Might be a great time to pick up something in downtown LA right now. Now that's gonna take some guts. Just to get in the property is challenging right now. But that said, that's the opportunity when people are panicking. That's where people make fortunes, is when those opportunities exist. So, okay, final words. Let's wrap up here. Shannon, what's going on for the weekend, or what are you looking forward to for the next week?
What I'm looking forward to, let me see. We just have three buyers who hopefully we're closing in the next 2 weeks. So that's good. Like you said, people are still buying. Things are still happening. I'm getting a bunch of applications in right now. So, like you said, Bill, I think if you're watching the news, someone else is calling us, someone else is getting a pre-approved, someone else is putting in offers.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, that's my final words for today's session.
Yeah, for professionals, yeah. If you're watching the news, somebody else is making phone calls, somebody else is showing a buyer property or listing a property or something. Yeah, very good.
First-time home buyer, right? If you're a first-time home buyer and your excuse is, oh, the war, oh, the this, the that, this is why I can't buy. Someone else is turning that excuse into an opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point. Patricia.
So this weekend I'm doing some follow-up and showing some property because haven't really slowed down lately. So it's a good time right now. Good time to buy, good time to go look at property, see what's out there. How many, beds and baths are you looking for? Are you looking for a single story, a 2-story? I mean, there's more inventory right now, so it's a good time to go out and see homes and see what is going to check off all the boxes for you, or most of them at least.
It's a good time, and if there's anybody taking off because of whatever, good time to jump. Look, there are people who are off today, but those who work today got ahead. There are people who took off today and tomorrow, but if you want to go see a property this weekend, you're going to get ahead of them in line. Why not cut the line if you have a chance to? So, good point, both you guys. Okay, well, we'll wrap up here. We do this every week, and if you have questions, reach out. If you like the episode, like it, put comments in there, ask questions. Patricia has her phone number on the screen, right?
Right.
Best way to reach you?
323-365-9909.
And Shannon, best way to reach you on your IG?
Yeah, my Instagram, FUND Fund with Shannon, or my phone number is 661-317-8484.
Fantastic. I'm Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate on social media. As always, make today your best day ever. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it.